am Laurie Duncan, and this is a Road Group podcast. Oh yeah, tune in. We are going to talk about architects, and depending on what stage you are on your property journey, you may or may not have had to deal with an architect. We now have actually just employed our own architectural technician, and apparently an architectural technician cannot be called an architect because of some reason. It's like a practice thing, like, unless you do a certain thing, you can't call yourself an architect. But you can call yourself an architectural technician, and I think they do the same type of stuff. But we have started working with James Moles. Started with us just last week, and he is focused on a lot of the kind of front end design, I guess, of new acquisitions that are either going through legals or we're maybe analysing before we've decided to buy them or something like that. More kind of like development-y stuff. That said, there's some involvement from James with extensions, conversions, the garden rooms we're going to be doing. This is all stuff through the building company. But really it's more a kind of design role for James, and he'll support us with feasibility studies and costs and all this type of stuff. So that's James Moles, technical manager of Road Group, but also we still have external architects that we deal with, and they push stuff through planning for us. They do the building warrant designs for us and all the specifications that go along with that. But maybe you're just getting started on your journey, and maybe you're only doing some resi flips or some buy-to-let stuff with like general refurbs, like kitchens, bathrooms, a bit of decoration, maybe knocking some walls down, putting some new walls up. But if it's not structural, then you've maybe not had to have an architect involved. So it's a cool thing to talk about. I remember when, only probably about 2 years ago maybe, before we started getting into developments, I didn't really know what architects did. I didn't quite understand them. I thought it was kind of scary to be asking architects to do stuff, because I really didn't understand how it all works. Now we've got a very different experience, because again we just pushed ourselves forward and we've learned along that journey. But really, I remember this kind of fear because I just didn't understand them, and it's stupid to think back, because it's amazing. Basically, if you take on a development or whatever it is, you say, right, architect, I want you to do this. They deal with everything. They'll maybe ask you some questions, but it's basic stuff. They are like the technical whiz kids, man. And it's just such a breeze to deal with an architect. It's not scary at all. It's not complex. They deal with all of the complexity, and you just pay them their fees. You pay some fees to the council for applications and stuff, and that's pretty much it, right? It's easy peasy. But I remember when it used to be scary. I remember when dealing with lawyers used to be scary because I hadn't done it yet. I remember when dealing with rot, whether it's dry rot or wet rot, didn't understand it, scared the shit out of me, put me off many deals just because of a lack of understanding. And it's just so cool to look back, man. There's not really much that phases us now when we're looking at acquisitions. I mean, one of the projects we're looking at now, right, is going to require about £500,000 worth of land infill, because the land is too soggy to build on, right? So we need to spend a lot of money to level it out, solidify it, and then we still need to do piles and raft foundations as well, which is another thing. Your architect will deal with all of that. We've just got experience in it now because we're involved in bigger development projects. So yeah, the architect, great member of the team, very valuable member of the team, and you should look to start getting involved with projects, in my opinion, where it's a little bit more complex, a little bit more challenging, and does require architectural involvement, because apart from the fact that they might add a lot of value into your project, the learning experience with working with these guys is just fantastic. Absolutely, sensational. And really, as I say, there's nothing for you to do. You just need to pay them, and they don't really charge that much. I don't think, charge like, I don't know, it's about maybe 500-600 quid a plan and drawing, and maybe like 1,200-1,500 quid a warrant drawing per unit. Like, so if you're doing much more, if you're doing like multi-unit developments, the cost is obviously a lot more significant, but it should all be factored in. But I'll tell you one thing, and I've talked about this before somewhere, I can't remember when, but ages ago, but about 2 years ago, I went to one of these conference things, property conference things, and all these folk are up on the stage and they're talking about all the different specialisms, and one guy went up, I've no idea what his name was or what his company was, but he was focused on commercial conversions, and most of the folk that I was there with, there was about 20 folk that were there, and most of the people had all thought this guy's story was going to be pish, so they all went out and got a coffee and a drink and stuff. They were just standing blethering outside, a bit of networking. And I was like, no, I really want to hear about this, and so I was the only one that stayed to listen to him. And generally it was a very interesting chat the guy gave. They're always selling courses and stuff like that on these events, which was cool. I was interested to hear his pitch. But he made one comment that really stuck with me, and in fact that whole weekend, it was a weekend gig that, and I didn't really take a lot away from it, apart from this one line. And he said, whether you're dealing with a project for 1 unit or 100 units or 500 units, it's all the same headaches, all the same problems. The only difference is you've got more zeros on the end of the numbers, and can you deal with that mental battle, because that's what it is. And that really hit home with me, man. And then as soon as I heard that, I was like, man, why are we pissing about? I say pissing about, I mean the buy-to-let strategy still works very well and it produces all the monthly cash flow. But there was another big game to be played there, right? A much, much bigger game to be played as well. And because we had then set the foundations of buy-to-let, passive income, and all that, we were then able to focus on these other larger style projects like land developments. We've got our own building company now, we've got the training business, the group is growing arms and legs, and we're only just getting started really. Rood Group is only 2 years old right now. 2 years old, unbelievable, man. And there's so many other things we're looking at bringing into the group as well. It's going to be really cool. But look, just by thinking differently, completely opens the doors to so many more like bigger projects, more interesting projects, more profitable projects. Well, they should be profitable anyway. But wow, it really hit home with me. So anyway, the architect forms a big part of all these kind of larger scale developments, right? Really important to understand that. So start building relationships with them, start doing some smaller stuff with them, whatever it is. But you will learn a lot from these guys, I guarantee you that, if you are just getting started. So anyway, hope you found that useful. I am away to an advanced biostructural correction appointment, so I'm just going to park the car now. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe, because you should get massive value from all these podcasts. I just want to say thank you for listening, and I cannot wait to catch up with you again soon. Cheers.